What truly makes someone a legend in the Wild West? Is it, pure courage, a fast draw, or maybe it's something else, like a really fierce sense of justice that, well, it blurs the lines, doesn't it, between hero and outlaw? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most chaotic and bloody conflicts out there, the Lincoln County War. And right at the center of it all, that iconic figure, Billy the Kid. Now, this deep dive, it's tailored specifically for you. We're using a source that really tries to cut through the myths, the noise that's built up over generations. We want to get you the essential insights into this really chaotic time. We're not just listing facts here.
No, definitely not. Our mission really is to unpack the genuine story behind Billy the Kid's, let's say, intense drive for vengeance, and also to understand how this very local conflict, but incredibly violent, how it fundamentally shaped the American frontier. It left such a huge mark, defining that whole era of, well, lawlessness and a pretty brutal search for justice sometimes.
Okay, so let's start with Billy himself. His early life, it wasn't exactly typical, was it? Born Henry McCarty, 1859, New York City of all places.
Right. Surprising.
Then he's Billy Bonney, and finally, the name everyone knows, Billy the Kid.
Hmm.
And he gets into crime pretty young, stealing a horse as a teen. So how did moving from the city to New Mexico in the late 1870s, how did that set the stage?
Well, it's a huge contrast, isn't it? That move threw him right into this kind of pressure cooker of tension. And the crucial thing here is that Billy's own story gets tangled up with this much bigger fight for power in Lincoln County. You basically had two sides. On one, John Tunstall. He was a wealthy Englishman, came in with big ideas about economic development, bringing some fairness.
Trying to build legitimate businesses.
Exactly. Sort of civilize things a bit.
Right.
And opposing him, you had Lawrence Murphy. Now, Murphy was a tough rancher, businessman, deeply connected to the corrupt politics and business already there. It was like a fight for the county's soul, really.
And Tunstall, being principled, he challenged Murphy's monopoly, right? Murphy had this sort of iron grip on land, cattle, politics.
Everything. He made it almost impossible for anyone else to compete fairly.
So as Tunstall built his own business, this professional rivalry, it just turned bitter, personal.
Oh, absolutely. It became deeply personal. It was a clash of ideals just as much as business.
Okay.
And this clash, it inevitably hit a breaking point, a really tragic one that lit the fuse for the whole war. The defining moment, you could say the spark, was February 1878. John Tunstall was just brutally murdered.
By Murphy's men.
By Murphy's hired guns, yeah. They were supposedly trying to seize his cattle, but everyone knew what it was really about. It wasn't just a killing. It was an attack on everything Tunstall stood for.
Yeah.
And that, right there, set the stage for the violence, the real start of the Lincoln County War.
And this is where Billy the Kid's story shifts, doesn't it? Becomes almost legendary. He's just a young guy working for Tunstall. Tunstall was like a mentor to him.
Mm-hmm.
So his death wasn't just some abstract event. It hit Billy hard. It fueled this really raw personal need for revenge.
Mm.
What was it about Tunstall's death that transformed him?
That's key. For Billy, it wasn't just losing a job. It felt like a total betrayal of any idea of justice out there on the frontier.
Huh.
Tunstall had given him a shot at something, more legitimate, and that was ripped away violently.
So he didn't just sit back.
No way. He joined up with this group, a real ragtag bunch of young guys. They called themselves the Regulators.
Your Regulators.
Yeah, and their one goal, their whole focus was avenging Tunstall, hunting down the men responsible. They decided to operate outside the system because they saw the system itself as corrupt.
Took matters into their own hands.
Completely. And they didn't waste any time. They went right after Murphy's men, the ones they believed killed Tunstall or were involved.
And that led to just shootout after shootout.
A relentless series of them. It defined those early stages of the war. You have to picture it. Ambushes, gunfights in dusty streets, out on the open range, constant danger.
Wow. It really speaks to that idea of frontier justice, or maybe the lack of it.
Exactly. And amidst all this chaos, Billy's own reputation just exploded. His quick draw, his fearlessness, some said recklessness, and his loyalty to Tunstall's memory, it made him feared very quickly.
So his name became linked with the whole lawless image of the West.
Synonymous with it, each fight just added to the legend. It's a classic case, really, of how a personal vendetta can accidentally create this almost mythical figure.
And the violence just kept escalating, this cycle of attacks and counterattacks. You mentioned the Battle of Blazers Mill as a key example. That was April 1878. Can you walk us through that? It sounds like it was particularly brutal.
Oh, it was. Blazers Mill was significant. The Regulators, Billy included, cornered Andrew Buckshot Roberts. He was one of the men they were after for Tunstall's murder. They tried to arrest him, but it just instantly erupted into this chaotic, close-range gunfight.
Right there at the mill.
Right there. And Roberts, he was tough, an experienced gunman. He held off multiple regulators, actually killed their leader, Dick Brewer, and wounded several others pretty badly.
Wow. So even though they got him in the end.
They did eventually kill Roberts, yes, but it was a bloody, costly victory for the regulators. It showed their determination, sure, but also the terrible human price they were paying.
A really grim picture. Now, even with fights like Blazer's Mill and the regulators' determination, you said Murphy's faction wasn't totally wiped out. The war started to sort of fizzle out by 1879. Why?
Well, a few things happened. The federal government finally got more involved. They declared martial law, sent in troops. That calmed the open warfare down, at least somewhat.
Right.
Plus, key figures started disappearing. Murphy himself died of natural causes, actually. Others on both sides were killed or just left the area.
So the conflict itself faded, but the damage was done.
Oh, absolutely. Lincoln County was devastated. The economy was ruined. The community was just deeply scarred by all the corruption and the bloodshed. It's a stark reminder of how unchecked power struggles can just tear a place apart.
And what about Billy's regulator comrades during this wind down?
Many didn't fare well. Killed in later skirmishes, captured, some just drifted away.
But Billy, he remained a fugitive. His legend just kept growing, didn't it? How much of that was his skill versus just the myth-making?
That's always the question, isn't it? It was likely both. He was undeniably resourceful, knew the land like the back of his hand. He was good at evading capture. But yeah, the stories were already building. People talked about him like he was almost larger than life.
Which probably made him an even bigger target.
Exactly. His notoriety was a double-edged sword, and eventually caught up with him. In late 1880, Sheriff Pat Garrett tracked him down.
Pat Garrett, another famous name.
Billy was captured, tried, and sentenced to hang for killing Sheriff Brady back during the war.
But that wasn't the end of the story. Not quite. That famous escape from the Lincoln County Jail, April 28, 1881.
Incredible moment. Just pure audacity. He is waiting to be hanged, heavily guarded, and somehow manages to get a gun.
Kills 2 deputies in the process.
Yes, James Bell and Robert Ollinger. It was ruthless, shocking, but it cemented his image as this defiant rebel figure. He got away, had that brief taste of freedom again. People were almost thrilled by it, in a strange way.
But freedom couldn't last forever for someone that notorious.
No, it was tragically short-lived. Pat Garrett tracked him down again. July 14th, 1881, Fort Sumner, New Mexico. Garrett found him in a darkened room at Pete Maxwell's house and shot him. Killed him on the spot.
And Garrett and Billy had history, didn't they? Weren't they friends once?
They had been, yes.
Yeah.
Ran in some of the same circles, maybe worked together briefly, which just adds another layer of tragedy to it all, that classic frontier narrative.
So Billy the Kid's death really marked the end of an era.
It felt like it, symbolically at least.
Yeah.
The end of one of the Wild West's most iconic and maybe most dangerous outlaws.
So bringing this all together, the Lincoln County War, Billy the Kid's role in it, it's undeniably a defining chapter of the American frontier. His story just endures, doesn't it? Shapes how we still see that whole period.
It really does. And it leaves us wrestling with that core question the debate historians still have.
Yeah.
Who was Billy the Kid? Was he just a cold-blooded killer, an outlaw through and through? Or was he something more complex, maybe a misunderstood kid fighting for justice, however flawed, in a place utterly riddled with corruption?
And the truth is probably messy, somewhere in between.
Almost certainly. It's rarely simple, these things. The labels don't quite capture the whole reality.
It really makes you think about how Billy the Kid, and maybe the West itself, became this potent symbol of rebellion. A place where, justice often wasn't about courts or laws. It was about who had the quickest gun. And that line between right and wrong got incredibly blurred by just the harshness of life on the frontier. So maybe the final thought for you to consider is, what does that blurring tell us about legends? Why do these complex, contradictory figures like Billy the Kid still fascinate us so much today?